can we start by talking about Crumble cookies? Because I know this is, I know this is a cool story, and I know that BYU fans are all swole in the limbs over, oh, look at the Crumble cookie guy, right? Like we all have heard it. We all saw James Franklin with Crumble cookies at Virginia Tech. Like, we all saw that Penn State got over a dozen boxes of Crumble cookies delivered to their football facility today while no recruits were there to eat them. But let's be very honest. Jake, do you think that the Crumble cookie guy saved Kalani Sitake at BYU?
I don't think he was solely responsible for saving Kalani. I think that he was the one that sort of sparked the donor wave and all of the, the Ryan Smiths of the world to start getting involved. I mean, and hey, maybe he was just the first one that got involved on Twitter. Maybe he was, okay, cool. Maybe there was something behind the scenes. All right. But certainly he certainly started the fire publicly, without a doubt.
I think it's a cool narrative. I don't think he had anything to do with it. You know what I think he did? I think he took advantage of a marketing opportunity around something he's passionate about, which is where magic happens. When you market in relation to something you're passionate about, you're usually going to do well. I think that's what you saw Crumble Cookie do the other day, because by the time that tweet came out, Kalani Sitake was already in a meeting with Brian Santiago, the athletic director at BYU. And that's the conversation that sealed the return of Kalani Sitake to Provo, Utah. That conversation. And I think Lavelle Edwards' widow played a huge role in keeping Kalani Sitake at BYU. I think that Bronco Mendenhall, I think all of the mentors that Kalani Sitake talks to, because, again, I think it's important. As we talked about on the show, and I have told you, Kalani Sitake regularly gets phone calls. And not to pat myself on the back, but if you watched one Kalani Sitake's press conference yesterday, you heard him pretty much repeat chapter and verse what we reported on this show, that there was a significant meeting and conversation with Brian Santiago, that operations, that it wasn't money that was standing between Kalani and BYU, that facilities, all of the talk we had about facilities where Oak State James dropped his DNA down his thigh and was all excited about, well, see, what I had meant to say was like facility upgrades, detail upgrades, all those things we talked about on the show. But I love the Crumble Cookie story. I think it's cool. I think it's neat. It's something for people to hang on to. But if we're telling the truth, it's not really at all related to how Kalani Sitake stayed in Provo. And if you read the Deseret News description of how the whole thing played out, it's exactly what we were reporting on the show. So I think it's a cool narrative. It is pretty cool, Jake. I don't know that we've ever seen Crumble.
I mean, I think the CEO, a CEO getting involved to save college football coach who, needed to stay here and is having the best year and one of the best years in the program's history, certainly the best year in the modern era.
Yeah.
It's just got the cake has all the ingredients, and, we're just looking for anything to feel good about, I feel like, in Provo. And, we're also in the full, denial mode that the CFP committee is going to pipe you if you don't win the Big 12 game, like, the Big 12 championship game. So, I think that's also playing into it. I think people want something fun to kind of rally around. And
I would agree.
Things like, culturally speaking in Provo, things like Crumble and Swig and, different brands like that are a big deal.
Yeah.
So it's not surprising to me at all that this Crumble Cookie thing, took off. I personally love the troll job that there's Crumble Cookie outside of Penn State's administration building. That's incredible. I love that James Franklin had Crumble Cookie at the press conference. Like, this is what happens
so good.
when you want to do what the Knuckle Deep Boys did. This is karma coming back around. and nobody has a problem giving you the bird and rubbing it in your face. It like, this is what happens, dude. We're seeing like real world, examples of it. So I just, I do find it entertaining, and I do love that people can troll Penn State in a respectful way that doesn't involve, flag planting or any type of violence. I do think that it's enjoyable.
Well, that's nice. And it was nice not to talk about who got screwed by the college football playoff until, well, then after that, the college football playoff released their rankings, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But I do think this, again, highlights, one, how good looking I am, but also,
Biologics.
How screwed Penn State is. And I think this is... I don't think we have ever seen this from what is allegedly a blue blood program. I don't think we have ever seen this. And it is shocking to me today that we get another coach, Jeff Brom at Louisville, saying thanks but no thanks. He interviewed, talked to Penn State. By most accounts, it never got close or serious. And Pete Thamel at ESPN.
The four-letter.
He is reporting, Pete Thamel is reporting that Jeff Brom has told Louisville he is not interviewing for other jobs and is remaining at Louisville. And then I tried to tell, and I know I never get anything right. I know I never get anything right. Tried to tell you that Brian Hartline was not going in the Big Ten, was not going to a competitor. Brian Hartline goes to USF. I said that on the show yesterday.
Stay hard.
I could see Big 12, absolutely. He goes to USF. Another candidate out the window. Bob Chesney, hired by UCLA, did not want to interview at Penn State. At the end of the day, they had preliminary conversations, allegedly. But does anybody know who Bob Chesney's agent is? Oh, that's right. Jimmy Sexton.
Oh.
Bob Chesney never interviewed and then took the UCLA job. And here's the thing that I really struggle with. We joke, and not really even joke, but the Knuckle Deep Boys, Epstein Island, Pedo State.
Happy Ending Valley.
But this is Penn State football. Penn State football is still, was recently one of the marquee jobs in the country. James Franklin fired, shocked the world, because this is Penn State. And I'm not a believer. I was listening to Get Up this morning, and I heard people talking about how this brand and its fan base deserves better. Does it? No. But you are Penn State. You are Penn State's not a blue blood, but Penn State is one of the biggest brands in the Big Ten, and nobody wants the job. That's what I can't get over. You're as deep in the dung as you are with the Sandusky Paterno sexual abuse stuff that you're never getting away from. At the end of the day, you're still Penn State. You still have access to the national championship. And nobody wants the job. You have access to some of the best trench talent in the country in your own backyard. And nobody wants the job. You have resources financially and facility-wise that are going to be top of the mountain. And nobody wants the job. I don't know how we got here. And maybe this is all the Sanduskification karma coming back to haunt you. But nobody wants the job. And you are in a position where the Pagulas, who are titans of industry, donors and alumni at Penn State, owners of the Buffalo Bills, are advocating for Brian Daboll. And that might be the only candidate you have, because it does not appear that Matt Campbell's interested at all in this job. And I was talking to somebody in the know today who was saying, well, if Matt Campbell wanted this job, you can't say, well, he's waiting for the season to end, because Matt Campbell's pretty well let it be known that he will not interview or talk to other universities during a football season. Well, the football season's over now, and it was a tragic one. And if you wanted to hire Matt Campbell, you could have done that. Yeah, the problem is you didn't do that. And all of these coaches have been hired. Will Stein got hired today at Kentucky officially. Tosh Lapoy's at Cal. Who's at Penn State? Who's going to Penn State? The answer is I have no idea, because this one's a little surprising. The Jeff Brom, that's a guy I thought you could have had a shot at. But again, what did we talk about on the show yesterday? There is allegedly a blacklist where no sitting head coach will interview for that job. How true is that? I don't know. Kalani Sitake interviewed for that job. But now we know, never flew out there. I think I told you that on Monday.
Oh, Monty, he's flying out there in the middle of the night. He's not getting ready for tech.
Monty, you just want to pat yourself on the back, fat ass. I do. Let me push the elbow back.
Hey, get those stretches in.
He never flew out to Penn State. He never. I know Penn State fan disagrees with me on that, and you're all up in my TikToks, and he never flew out to Penn State.
Well, Penn State fan is pissed about Kalani because they were out here saying it was a done deal, and how could he pick BYU over Penn State and deal with it? Yeah, they were all out here saying that, and I just think it's, I don't know. Okay, why do you think this whole blacklist narrative exists? Whether it's true or not, I don't know. But let's say that it is true for Jimmy Sexton clients, because that was the narrative. Hey, if you're a Jimmy Sexton client and you're a sitting head coach, you are not to interview for that job. That Jimmy, for whatever reason, is not about that. And I don't know if that's because Jimmy views that as a bad job, or I don't get it.
James Franklin's his client, and they ripped the rug out from under James Franklin, 3 months ago now, I think. I can tell you, I mean, that is what it is. And I think when you start looking at the fact that every available candidate has a job, I think John Summerall's got a job. Lane Kiffin's got a job. Golish has a job. I mean, you look at all of these guys, like Silverfield got a job. Again, Tosh Lapoy got a job. Will Stein got a job. How many guys?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's clear that you're going to have to get outside the box here. I mean, I think any of the traditional names that were available obviously aren't available, which means you're going to have to start going to the Dayballs of the world, or if Mike Tomlin gets fired, or stop it, dude. It's not good, dude.
You say a lot of stupid shit on this show on a pretty regular basis.
I mean,
if Mike Tomlin gets that job, I'll cut your arm off. Like, there's no way. There's no way he's getting that job.
Listen, we've had so much to talk about. I haven't had time to, stretch my arm muscles over the Steelers dumpster fire currently taking place.
What's that got to do with Aaron Rodgers?
Well, there's plenty to do with Aaron Rodgers, but we can get to that. I don't think Mike Tomlin would take the Penn State job, but yeah, I mean, I think Dayball, but then there are people talking about Penn State, having to look at, the Grudens or the Ogerons. And I'm like, dude, they're not going to look at those guys. I mean, you
can't hire John Gruden for that gig.
Yeah,
that's not
you're telling me you're that desperate, dude. I mean, hell, why don't you just go and hire an assistant or somebody that's already in the building and just be good with sucking next year, and then, find a guy the next cycle? Like, I don't know what else you do here, dude. Like, and it really is what you said. Like, it really is that they thought, like, that they're Penn State and they're an elite job and dudes are all about it and everyone's going to want to take this job and we're going to have this filled in like 5 minutes. And dude, you're 90 days into looking for a coach and everyone and their mom hired somebody and you haven't. Like, I don't think we've really ever seen this before.
The one that really stuns me, is Bob Chesney. That was the right guy, the right hire at the right time, the hotshot recruiter, the local guy, you never even had the conversation at a high level. And then to get turned down by Brett Bielema.
That's
allegedly. To get turned down by Luke Fickell, allegedly. It just feels like karma coming back and smacking Penn State, and that you tried to undercut Kalani Sitake and BYU. And I don't think it's a slight, but it feels like Kalani Sitake was a Hail Mary because you couldn't get anybody else. And Terry Smith, listen, I know that Terry Smith is a guy that Penn State fans are like, well, we've had our guy at home already. Well, he's the guy who's been overseeing this recruiting cycle. And how did that work out for you? Now, I also understand it's awfully difficult to recruit if you're Terry Smith, knowing that you're probably not going to be the guy. And Penn State's gone out of their way to make it painfully obvious they don't want you to be the guy. But, I mean, come on, bruh. At some point, you have to be, or excuse me, come on, bruh. At some point, you have to be able to. I mean, how do you convince somebody to take this job now? You have zero recruits coming in. You're looking at National Signing Day, and we can sit here and I can tell you, hey, bruh. I can tell you that USC absolutely owned the day on National Signing Day. Like, you look at the offensive lineman flips, you look at the skill position flips, you look at the D tackles, like, holy bejesus. USC dominated the day.
Present.
Penn State ain't even in the comp. They're not even, I think they are not in the top 100, which is shocking.
But is it really surprising?
Yes.
Like, well, they don't have a coach, dude. I mean, kids aren't going to go there if they don't know who they're playing for.
But isn't that the conversation? You should be the coach at Penn State and finish in the top 50. I guess. If you just look at the offensive line stuff, you're getting out recruit. I'm pretty certain that they have 2 commits and they're like 150th in the country, and they're getting out recruited by Florida Atlantic, Middle Tennessee, Northern Arizona, Nevada, UMass, right? You look at Wyoming and as crappy of a class, and it is crappy that UCF, I think this is where's our guys in Orlando? Bro, UCF, this is an absolute disaster.
And with all due respect,
they're 93rd in the Big 12.
How has he still got a job? How?
Bro. But you look at UCLA. UCLA's 83rd with 14 commits. You're 150th with 2 commits. But what? Has Bob Chesney had his introductory? Yes, Bob Chesney had his introductory press conference yet?
Bro.
I mean, this is unbelievable. I don't know. I'm probably making too much out of it.
I mean, it is crazy to say that Penn State's recruiting class is that ass, but I mean, I can't say that I'm that surprised given they don't have a head coach, and I just think that this is a cautionary tale. Like, you can't just whack dudes with no backup plan and assume that the market is going to be salivating over you, especially in a cycle that we all knew. Dude, you and I on this very program were talking about it in August, that bros were going to get whacked, that there were going to be a bunch of jobs open, that like we were people were talking about Lane. We were talking about Lane. Like, it was obvious, dude. Hell, we haven't even gotten a Kleiman in K-State yet. Like, you knew that people were going to be out of jobs. You knew this was going to be a heavy cycle for head coaches. Yet you still thought it was a good idea to fire a dude without a backup plan? Because I guarantee you, bro didn't just call James and like, hey, you're fired, without talking to all his little schemer friends in the boardroom, dude. Like,
just looking at the recruiting numbers, the list of universities: UTEP, Western Kentucky. And you want to talk about another disaster? How about Baylor at 84th?
The Wolf of Wall Street.
With 11 commits.
Monty, they've got to keep Dave so they can reinvest in the program and hit the NIL and recruiting trail and do all these great things. Times have changed.
Oh yeah, Jake, get the piano music out. Can you please get the piano music out? Chad Carter. Chad Carter's given us $5. Notre Dame, our mother. Your thoughts and prayers during this trying time. Miss you already, Coach. It's got to be tough now that he's at Penn State as the head coach of. I mean, Brian Hartline's at Penn State, right?
Oh.
Right. Oh wait, no, that's right. He went to USF.
Bro chose a group of 5 school over your sorry ass.
Do you know?
Dude, unreal.
Listen, if we're keeping it a buck, Penn State's ass, of course.
Is Penn State below ass at this point?
No, they're below a buck, though. Look, if we're keeping it a nickel and a couple of pennies at Penn State, if we're keeping it 8 cents,
right now, we ass.
If we keep it at 8 cents right now, we ass.
I want that known.
I'm telling you now, Brian Hartline is going to be sensational. And I think he will be the next head coach at Ohio State. But
Ohio State?
This is the right move for his career. This is a home run hire for USF. On campus stadium coming, like, it's home run hire. Oh my God, David Persons. You ain't even play the piano music, Jake, please.
Okay, here we go. Yes.
Now, I usually don't pat myself on the back while the music's playing. I'll go with the left hand over the right shoulder. K-State, this is the necessary move. And you look at the fact that, listen, and this is, you want to talk about bad football in the state of Kansas. I don't even know what you say about Leitold and the knife and Tortillaville and.
Let's wind the clocks back a year.
But now that Kleiman's out at K-State, I mean, the portal is going to be, I think they're going to lube it just to make sure all the dudes get in there without chafing.
You got to get stroked.
Because my feeling at K-State's in a tough spot. And
Well,
you want to
I
talk
mean,
about a fan base that deserves better. K-State fan deserves better.
Well, yeah, did they deserve better when he got run out of there? When Will Howard was terrible and he was trash and, Avery's a better guy and it was all about the quarterback.
Avery for Heisman.
Yeah.
Remember all that
you guys
garbage
are
on the
idiots.
show?
He shouldn't go to Tennessee. Okay, how's that looking now, dude? Now, how's that looking now? Another ass season and your coach is stepping down. Maybe you should have went to the SEC. Just a thought. Maybe you should have gone and joined Heupel. Come on, man. Come on.
Yeah, I don't even know how you I don't even know how you do this. I'm not even sure how you figure this out. I'm not even sure how I don't know, because I think this is really, really difficult. I think it is one of those things where you have to find a way, somehow, some way. You have to find a way to get the mix and the energy up in Manhattan, because that fan base wants it. They need it. And I think that you absolutely have to have it. And I really don't know how you fix it. If we're being real, Avery Johnson's not your guy. Avery Johnson's not a guy that can carry that team to a conference championship. He is not a quarterback that you can count on. And I just don't know. You need to tear that thing to the ground and rebuild it. And I think that is something that you can do. And I think that's what's unique about where you are. And I think that it's going to be very interesting to see how all this plays out. I think it's going to be very interesting. But
yeah, I don't think that the head coaching position in college football is any more a game that the 80-year-old or 70-year-old coach can do. I think that this is a young man's game. I think that the coach of yesteryear needs to retire and resign and step down, and needs to be backfilled with the younger candidate who's willing to basically put his family second and be so in love with the job that he is doing it 24/7, 360 days out of the year. I think that, you can't have the coach who's just kind of riding on the salary, not taking it too seriously, and, doesn't really understand what's required on the recruiting trail anymore to get the best talent. Like, again, with all due respect, K-State is not a top tier option, right? Like you're vying for second tier players, and that's fine, but you can't be losing. You can't have a situation in the Big 12 where the second tier players are going to the likes of BYU and Tech and Arizona State because they're willing to pay them more and do more with them. And like, K-State needs to have energy. K-State needs to be what it was when Will Howard was there and you were competing for the conference. Because again, the expectation this year was that you were going to compete for a conference championship, and you haven't been anywhere near that. And you weren't that guy right after the Iowa State game, right out the gate this year. So I feel bad for K-State fan. I think that you need to learn the lesson about running dudes out of Manhattan. And I think you need to be patient with who the next guy is and how long it's going to take to be good again.
Yeah, I think it's really difficult in Manhattan right now. And I think that Colin Klein is obviously that's a legacy hire, and I love it. I think it's a great hire, and I think that you could have done a lot worse. I just don't know. I just don't know how all of this plays out, because I want this to be the home run hire that it should be. And I want this to be something that is, I want to remember Chris Kleiman as a guy that did so much at K-State, and I think he did. And obviously, I just don't know how high is the ceiling in Manhattan at K-State? How high is it? Is that a conference championship level program? Of course it is. They've already been there. But is that what we're playing for now? Is that who we are right now? It doesn't feel like it. It doesn't feel like that's what we're trying to do, right? Like it doesn't feel like that to me anyway.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you're not going to the CFP, what's the point of playing football at this level for that kind of money?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I could not agree more, man. Like, I think that the head coaches in college football that run these programs that, fans want to say, oh man, like he's been here so long and what a great coach. Like, God, I mean, I don't know, like Ferentz is a great example. Well, dude hasn't done anything in how long? Like, when's the last time any noise came out of that program and you got people out here celebrating him like he's winning the national championship every year? Like, that's the problem in college football right now. And I just think that whether you're looking at Baylor, whether you're looking at, K-State, I mean, again, like I think Texas Tech, BYU, Utah to an extent, but again, Kyle Whittingham, like these programs are showing you what it takes, and you're either going to do it or you're not going to do it. And I think that if you don't do it, you can't be mad that you're not winning. Like it just is what it is.
Yeah, we'll see. I love the Colin Klein hire. I think what he did at A&M, that offense obviously sucks. They lost that last game, but it is what it is, right? But he's a home run hire at K-State. obviously. So,
Yeah.
Joey wants to know, is that a golf shirt under the poofy vest? Is that the salmon golf shirt?
It is one of 2 salmon golf shirts I have. Yes, that's
Why
right.
do you even have one? You've got 2.
Mm-hmm.
It's fine. Let's get into the comment section. We are vesting. Monkey Man says that's a great vest, Jake, and I think he's jealous. Look at all that. Look at all that fur he's got, and he's got no vest.
Yeah, you got to put a vest on, dude. It is what it is, man.
You got to vest up.
Yeah, vest up.
Tex Max Barbecue. PJ Fleck hasn't won a Big Ten championship or a CFP game, has he? No. Is he a good hire? That doesn't feel like it. Disdain says Penn State should have taken Hartline while they had the chance. They didn't have They didn't have a chance. Penn State never had access to Hartline.
Yeah, I don't think he was ever going there, man.
Never had access. So, Scoop says Arizona is building a good team. Definitely on the upswing. No doubt. No doubt about that. Gumby says Jack going full salmon eggs.
Right.
Okay. If Alabama loses and Duke wins, does CFP put Miami in over Notre Dame to get an ACC team in? No. I think I guess we're going to do it.
Hate this conversation, dude. I really despise it, but at the same time, like, it is what everyone's talking about.
I hate this conversation, and I'm a little burned out on it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, and it's probably you guys because I'm not that smart. But I don't think you can fix the CFP selection process. I've heard all kind of wackadoo ideas. One release of rankings at the end of the year. How does that work? Well, do you think ESPN's just going to give away the money every week? Because they make huge money on it. Do you understand what ESPN and ABC are paying for the college football playoffs?
Yeah, I don't think that people realize there's a show every week around releasing the results or whatever, the rankings.
And look at the marketing money they make on that. Look how much money they make on that. A ton. I mean, a ton of money. Disney, ABC, and ESPN make on the replays, on the bugs in the corner where, like, you look at the way that when you see the CFP videos and you see the explanations and you start, like, you just see all their sponsorship there. Yeah,
there's an ass load of money.
They're making a ton of money on it.
Yeah.
Do you think they're just going to let that go? No. Plus, on top of all that, do you know how many people are like, oh, it's a scam to get Alabama in? Like, I love the fan right now who's like, oh, ESPN's bowing down to the SEC. I worked at ESPN and nobody ever told me what to say. You got to talk about the SEC here, Monty. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. And at the end of the day, isn't what we're doing right now, this discussion, this conversation, isn't this what's good about the college football playoff selection process? The fact that the biggest college football shows in the world are all talking about, well, Alabama got helped out and Notre Dame got screwed, and look at BYU. Right? Like, is the ACC going to get a team in? Like, how many, like, we're consistently talking about this stuff week in and week out. And somehow we think this should come to an end, because I'm telling you it shouldn't come to an end. I don't think it needs to be fixed. And I certainly don't think, like I was listening to a national radio show last night who was saying, oh, we've got to have 24 teams. This is why okay, well then what are you going to say to 25 and 26?
That we need 32.
Where does it end? It never ends. And I don't think there is a fix. I think what we need to do is take, in my opinion, the opinions out of it and build a system where wins and losses determine if you're in or you're out. That's called a Super League. It solves so many problems. It's probably too common sense.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's a combination that needs to take place. So in the NFL, you've got, obviously, everything's decided on the field, and we can kind of project forward. And that's got pros and cons, right? I mean, if you look at the NFL this year, I would say that this is one of the worst years the NFL's had in quite some time. Like, the big boys aren't really doing their thing. The Chiefs aren't going to make the playoffs. You know, you've got the Bengals sucking. The Bills are not great. Like, we're talking about a 11-2 Patriot team now. Okay, cool, man. I am just so fired up. Like, that's the problem for the NFL. We can kind of forecast forward. But with this situation, I do feel like there's a happy medium. Like, I think in my perfect world, we would still have human beings in a certain part of the process, which would be, hey, we're you know, and I don't know what you would do with the schedule or anything, but basically you got teams playing, they're trying to get into a rank, a stack, a bracket. And then from there is no more reseeding. There is no more nothing, right? This is our pool of teams, and we're going to randomly select the matchups, and that's that. Like, if you're one of the best teams in America, you should be able to beat anybody. And it's still my biggest gripe with the whole situation, you know, because you can't take out the fact that ESPN's matchmaking in this. You can't take out the fact that if you look at a bracket, if you look at how they seed some of these, we should just be okay with the fact that, yeah, they do want Alabama and Ty Simpson in, because that would be a way better matchup than Carson Beck and that ass offense, dude. That offense is terrible. Like, Ruben Bain is the only reason Miami is where they are. And it would be a better matchup and a better TV situation to have another SEC team and Alabama in the playoff, because they've dominated the playoff era. Like, that's what people don't want to say. Yeah. So I'm here. If BYU fan is upset, which you are, and I understand why you are, like, I'm here for that conversation and we could talk about it. But this is good for the game. The only people that don't like it are the politicians that want to try to get their hand in the pot. That's why you see all these congressional videos and politicians talking about how it's rigged and it's terrible. Like, that's all drama. The truth is that everyone talking about this is good for the game. And once we're all on board with that, then I think we can talk about matchups and all the other
And listen,
stuff.
I'm a Notre Dame fan, and I'm telling you, I'm fine with the system. We don't belong in the college football playoff. I mean, I was DMing with Chaboy Rock and Rant last night. I don't think we belong in the college football playoff. I've been saying that for how long? I think I told you this after week 2, where we absolutely, crapped ourselves again. We're gonna run the table, and people are gonna hype Notre Dame into the college football playoff, right where we don't belong. And I think the system is fatally flawed. And I mean the system of college football. That doesn't mean we need we need a new college football system. That's what we need. We don't need a new college football playoff. We don't need everybody and their brother gets in, right? We don't need that. What we need is to have a system where wins and losses determine who wins the divisions and who wins the conferences and who are the wild cards. It's called the NFL system for a reason. And I'm just it's frustrating to me that we have to continually have conversations about teams like BYU, who's 11-1 and has the single best loss in the country. And yet they're going to be on the outside looking in. And I think it's an absolute travesty. BYU should, and I don't even care if they win or lose on Saturday, they should be in the college football playoff. You cannot make an argument, and I don't care if you're over the top about Miami. BYU has a far better case than Miami. BYU has a better case than everybody except Alabama, and I think Alabama should be in. I for one, do not believe that Texas should be in. I do not believe Notre Dame should be in. I don't believe that Miami or anybody else in the ACC should be in. if Duke wins the championship, I don't believe that the ACC should have a team in the college football playoff. That's the system you built. At least follow the system. But will we? Probably not. Probably not. Phil Venzer. Is it time for Notre Dame to consider joining the Big Ten? No.
Let's settle this right now.
Well, again, this comes up all the time.
Why do we always go to this with Notre Dame? Like,
why would we join a conference? I don't know. Big Pontiff for $10. This smacks of arrogance. Penn State thought they were bigger than they really are. They thought everyone wanted to date them and found out they aren't hot. I totally agree. I think they thought everybody would be banging down their door for this job, and nobody is. I tend to believe the folks who say that Penn State has not been close to hammering out an agreement. I don't think they've been close because I am the one who sat here and told you Kalani never agreed to take that job. He never, like, I love all these Penn State fans who are like, oh, there was a handshake agreement. No, there wasn't. Kalani Sitake never agreed to take that job. Kalani Sitake said, I need time to think about it. I need to, and I said this the other day, Kalani Sitake told Penn State, I need some time for reflection, and I need to talk to people. I need to consult some folks. And I will get back to you. And he did. And what was his reflection? Well, I'm going to meet with everybody at BYU, and I'm going to try and build a management vision that works for me. And he did. So were they really close to hiring Kalani Sitake?
No.
No, not when he's working earnestly to build an existence at BYU that works for him. Is he really close to leaving? Would he have? Yeah, I think he would have. But was he working to leave or was he working to stay? Well, he was working to stay. He was working to stay. And I think that matters. I do. David Persons for $5. Also, is there anything to the rumors that Gary Patterson and TCU are talking about him returning? I don't think there is. I saw that from idiot-faced podcasters that were like, oh, hey, Gary Patterson and TCU had their run. I would also point out that you have a coach. So I would probably chill with that. But hey, listen, I know that's just my opinion. But do you have an opening? And aren't you way too late if you wanted to have an opening now? Are we really firing a coach now? I mean, you look at Kansas State, they clearly had a succession plan. Do we believe that TCU has that? With all due respect.
no.
I don't think so. Right? And I think once the cycle got rolling and you hadn't made the decision to let Sonny go, I don't think that you could have let him go now. I think that you let him go and it's a mistake. That flies off the manure pile now. That's probably too much.
Probably, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah, I think we'll never know what the financials are on firing Sonny Dykes. I have a feeling it's not cheap. And can you imagine TCU paying a $35 million buyout for Sonny Dykes? Somehow I don't see that. I don't see that happening. And if you are TCU and you fire Sonny Dykes now, are you getting a better candidate? I'm going to say you're probably not getting a better candidate. And I think that's part of the problem. And the other part of this isn't TCU a top 40 recruiting class? Believe it or not. I want to say they passed Utah and Houston today.
I think that that sometimes in college football,
Yeah, they're 36th.
sometimes in
36.
college football, these programs need to get comfortable with the idea that it's worth it to the old adage of, hey, like we need to fix the brown spots on our lawn instead of firing the guy and looking elsewhere. Sometimes, if you're TCU, if you're K-State, like K-State had a succession plan, okay, great. But like if you're Baylor, you're trying to your message was, hey, we're not firing Dave because we want to reinvest in the program. But like that to me is silly because you should have done that 3 years ago if you were going to do it. Like with TCU, this is a guy who has shown the ability to have success in the CFP model, right? I mean, he's shown you that, but it was sort of a one-hit wonder. And so the question is not whether Sonny is capable of it. The question is how does he build a process that produces a CFP berth or at least a conference title appearance year in and year out? And what does that look like? Because I don't think that Sonny just forgot how to coach, but what I do think is that it's typically either you don't have a good enough staff overall, right? Like your assistants aren't good enough, or your quality control is not good enough. Whatever it might be, there's a hole in your game somewhere that's leading you to make mistakes. Like again, your defense is ass. You have a good offense, your defense sucks.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Probably need a new DC. Probably need a new defensive staff. Okay, great. We can work with that. That's a place to start. If nothing changes, but your defense gets better, you're a better football team. You're winning more games next year if you just did that. So I think when again this transformational cycle has just happened, and all the G6 guys and then all the P4 guys all got new jobs, and there's not obvious candidates out there. It's time to double down on what you have. And sometimes you got to do that in life, dude. Sometimes it's not about buying the new thing or getting to the next place. Like sometimes you just have to do what you can do to improve your current spot. And I think
agree.
these guys don't want to do that sometimes. But TCU specifically, I feel like really needs to embrace that.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that at all. BYU has a chance. Was it over when the Germans bombed Pearl Harbor? Excellent point. Excellent point, Blutarski. Geoff, my guy, what's up, man? Would be incredible, though, if BYU beat Tech, though, because it would turn their whole world upside down. Can you imagine 2 from the Big 12 in?
It's not going to happen, bro. I'm sorry. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, but I will say, and I know you guys, if you watch this show at all, you know that Jake hates Bear Bachmeier, and it's personal. I was watching some Bear Bachmeier tape last night. I think his growth has been explosive. I cannot tell you how much better this cat is every month. Every month. Like the little things that he's done. The front leg thing is a huge problem. He's a straight leg thrower, and it costs him accuracy when he tries to throw with velocity. He's not accurate. And a lot of, obviously, that's a 12 to 20 yard window that we're talking about. And it's a huge problem against better defenses. But what I think, watching all of his snaps against Tech, he made no decisions. His brain was off. He made no decisions. He was so shell-shocked, I think. And I think the atmosphere intimidated him. Now, Saturday, that's not going to be an issue because BYU fan travels exceptionally well. And I don't think it's going to be an issue.